Hello everyone, welcome to Truth Talk. This is where we use tarot as a medium to uncover things that may want to come to your awareness at this time. If you're here, you were probably drawn here either by the question that was asked on the title or because of the thumbnail itself, and it drew you in to find out more about this question. And so I don't do the questions, or I don't figure out the titles for the video until after we draw the reading when I'm uploading it. So I don't even know what's going to come out during these readings. But let's go ahead and dive in here. And we have the first position. There's 6 positions. The first position is the mask position. So in the mask position today, we have the Ace of Cups. So the Ace of Cups is, to me, in my experience, or the way I read Ace of Cups, is the cup is what we, this is, I like this deck because there's that little house there. So it's our world. It's an embodiment. The cup is the embodiment of everything that is inside of us. It's what we bring to the world each day. When we wake up in the morning and we go out into the world, it's who we are. It's the epitome of the cup is the epitome of everything we are and everything we bring to the world, the good, the bad, the ugly. So and see there's a little hand there because it's offering, it's like when you go to a job interview and you're sitting there and the person's asking you, like, who are you? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? This is kind of what the cup is. It's what you bring to a relationship when it's what you offer the world. And I love this with the fact that, like these readings are all about uncovering, I say masks, but masks can be anything. They really don't get misled by the term mask. We're unmasking things that need to be brought to our awareness. So I want to make that clarification. There's nothing right or wrong about, what we're unveiling or revealing here. It's just something, it's questions that we ask ourselves, or things that we maybe don't understand why we do the things we do. And so these readings are meant to, or videos are meant to bring some awareness to maybe why do I do the things I do, or in this moment right now, what needs to, that's coming forward to look at, and I may be struggling with something. So these are supposed to be guides to help you through that. So with the Ace of Cups coming out here, like I said, it's offering your cup of who you are to the world in some way. So there might be, this is kind of the why we're here. The mask position is the why we're here. And so it has to do with something about our presentation to the world. Do I want to use, I'm not going to clarify that yet. I want to go ahead and go into the other positions, and then we'll see where it leads and if I need more clarification then. So as we lead into position 2 is, it's the mirror position. The mirror position is what in the world externally is influencing us at this time. So what is externally influencing our internal world? Because just as our internal world impacts or has an influence on our external world, so does our external world have an impact on our internal world. Our external world has a huge impact on our internal world. I mean, I'm sure that you've witnessed this in your lifetime, but it's also the main reason we're here for these readings is because of that impact from the external world. Because as we're growing up, we experience certain things in our lives. We're conditioned in certain ways, and it's not that we've meant to adopt certain patterns of how we react to certain situations, but it's because of, we've either learned that behavior because of our external environment, our parents, growing up, our teachers, our friends, our family. We've experienced, things in our lives that have helped us shape how we move or navigate in the world. You know, how we, when we're faced with a situation, how do we react, or how do we respond to a situation? And that's kind of the epitome, or the sum of what my channel is about. It's about, you know, really looking at these things, bringing them to your awareness, so then, you know, like I said, you can have a more empowered view, that you can make more sound judgments on whether that behavior, or the way something is rolling out, the way you react to something or handle a situation. You have that awareness of how you handle it in the past, that you can handle it a different way in the future if you so choose. It doesn't mean you need to, it just means it gives you the awareness of how you do it, so that you can evaluate for yourself and make the best judgment for yourself on how, like, do I need to change my behavior, or is this something I'm fine with? So we have the Knight of Wands in the mirror position. So the Knight of Wands is typically, it's definitely a fast moving card, not quite as fast as the Knight of Swords, but with the Knight of Wands, it's a passionate energy. It's something that can be a very impulsive energy. It also can be, you know, like, with this, I almost feel like this is someone, you know, well, Knights are about messages. So I almost feel like this is someone incoming. I'm getting, there's this feeling from the card that is coming through intuitively, of someone that's coming in, racing in, like, if you, like, ahead, like a foreshadowing, racing in ahead of maybe some event that's going to happen. I'm thinking, you know, like, this person is racing into a village. This is the picture I'm seeing. This person racing into a village and saying, hey, we need to act in some way. So it's like alarm bells being set off is what I'm getting. So maybe there's something around you in your environment right now that is setting off your alarm system within your body, getting your raising your hackles, so to speak, you know, putting you on edge. You might be feeling a little bit of tension and anxiety as your nervous system is kind of in this heightened fight or flight kind of stress mode of ready, you know, like, almost like there's something impending, like impending doom potentially that's happening. That could be for some of you. I do want to pull, what do I want to use? That's the question. I'm looking at the decks here and I don't feel like I have the deck I want to use. You know what, I think I'll use a Spirit and Shadow deck. I think that's the Spirit and Shadow Oracle. I think that this is gonna pair really nicely with the imagery on this, on this other deck. The other deck is the Weird World Tarot, is what I'm using. So give me some clarifications on this Knight of Wands. What does this Knight of Wands mean for us right now when it comes to? So we have remembrance and heartache. Okay. So there might be something coming out. This doesn't surprise me in a sense. We have remembrance and heartache coming out here. This doesn't surprise me, clarifying, you know, as kind of I said, there's like this impending maybe sense of doom, maybe something at this time is setting you on edge. And so this is just saying, okay, we might be bringing up something from our past at this time. It might be coming up that's causing us a little bit of pain. It's causing us, maybe there's something in our environment that has brought this memory about. It could be a person, place, or thing. It could be anything that has brought up a memory from the past that has caused us to want to look at it. Now we have to remember that we go back to our mask position, and our mask position was the Ace of Cups, which is all about, you know, how we show up in the world. So, you know, or what we bring to the world. So there might be something here that has come up at this time, you know, that is like a message from the past. Okay. So, and this doesn't surprise me. I don't know if at the time, these are timeless readings, but I don't know if at this time, if we're still under Mercury retrograde, or not at the time I pulled this reading. But, you know, we all during, you know, we also had the new moon, which the new moon is all about reviewing, you know, reviewing things from the past so that we can do things differently, make new habits and start new. So, you know, this doesn't surprise me at all. So I also really like the fact that, okay, so we have on this remembrance card, see how that tree down there is really small. He's really small and he's like a sapling growing up, you know. And then we have in the remembrance card, it looks like this tree has grown, but do you see how we have a lighter color and a darker color? So it's like we were exposed to something that we thought was full of light and happiness and love for us, because we have the red here that kind of feels like this love, but then it was like something hurt us in the process of experiencing this thing, you know. And so it might have caused this, you know, it's almost like that sun, that heart, that, you know, our blood, our, you know, the epitome of who we are, it kind of got tainted in some way. You know, it's we've experienced this, you know, like where it's almost a shadow or a stain on us that is I think it's, you know, that needs to be purged. Let me say that needs to be purged at this time, and which is why it's coming up. Now, what this is going to be different for everybody. So with these readings, you kind of have to take, you know, what I'm saying, you know, not literally, but figuratively, and really, you know, use your own discernment and use your own tuition to understand what this is for you. And you're going to know what it is, because whatever drew you here, whatever drew you to that question that was asked on the title or from the image, something resonated with you on a deep level. Something subconsciously resonated with you that drew you to this reading at this time. So there's something in here that is meant for you. And so there's something coming up at this time that has to do with something, probably something you experienced in your past that's coming up for review, something that has been impacting you. You know, as I said, we have this Ace of Cups, which is who we are and who we're bringing, what we bring to the table, what we bring to the table when we walk in the world each and every day. So this is almost saying there's something that is kind of like there's this little bit of taintedness that has occurred because of some kind of heartbreak or heartache or some kind of experience in our past that just is coming up for us to look at this time, to get a better understanding at it, so that we, like I said, this is all about awareness and bringing your awareness to things, so that you can make better choices, so you can make a sound decision for yourself on what you want to do about the situation or whatever's coming up for you to look at this time for review. So I do feel like I want to, you know what, I do feel like I want to pull one more card. Can you give us what this heartache might be around? What might the viewer be remembering that is bringing them heartbreak at this time? You know what? I think I want to use this deck for this. I think this is going to be a better deck. What is the viewer remembering at this time? I know it has to be general. It's a general message, so it's not going to be specific. So you have to kind of just try and understand how it applies to you in your life. Okay, so we have the card Anchor coming out here. Steadying. Feeling like you're not ready for what's coming next. Things are shifting, change, having difficulty with change, having trouble anchoring yourself, having trouble with something that is shifting in your life. There's something that's about to change, something that's about to shift, and that might have you, there's something around when you experience change that is difficult, okay? But the truth of the matter is that it's all about taking it one day at a time, one step at a time, not letting yourself get overwhelmed by the situation. Maybe there's a big change that is occurring in your life. I could understand this. It can be around a lot of different things. Maybe you're someone that is experiencing going through a breakup. Excuse me for a minute. I want to drink some of my coffee before it gets cold. But you might be someone that is experiencing, maybe you're separating from someone you've been with for a long time. Maybe you're someone that is older and you're thinking about the things of retirement and how that change is going to look like for you. This is not something that's a small change. This is something that's a significant change. And I'll probably frame that, in the title in some way, which is probably why you're here, because this is talking about something that really impacts who you are as a person. Okay, I like that we had this as the Ace of Cups now as our why we're here, because it's something that impacts us on a huge level. So it's something significant. So if, for example, not that long ago, I was in a bad car accident. Somebody ran a red light and they hit me on my driver's side. They T-boned me. And that's had a huge impact on my life in many different ways that I was not expecting. But I feel like around this, it's something huge. It's a really huge thing, a really huge change. As I was saying, maybe you're someone that is older. Maybe you've had a partner that's passed away. And so now you've had that partner for your whole life, and now your world has changed because of, something that's impacted you in some way that's really changed the way you do life, in some way, whether that's, maybe you're married and you're going through a separation with your partner, or, your partner's passed away, and if that's the case, my heart goes out to you. I know those situations aren't easy, but I feel like that's what it is. There's something that's happened here, or, that it's bringing us back to making us aware of something that we're feeling around this change that is occurring. I'm kind of glad that I clarified that, because it's that messenger, and I really feel like it's something that's bringing us into this kind of fight or flight kind of mode within us. It's bringing us a lot of stress, and we're maybe having trouble navigating the situation at this time, or dealing with it in some way. So that's what we're here to kind of uncover, is the underneath, the undertones, the undercurrent of what you might be experiencing. I mean, it's easy to say, okay, yeah, I'm experiencing, I've had this big change or this big event happen in my life, but how is that making you feel? How is that, what's that doing, and how is that making you feel? Why is it occurring? Why am I reacting in this way? And that's what we're trying to uncover here. So the next card that we have, or the next position, is called the flame position. The flame position is all about, and you'll see it on the screen here, the question that we kind of drive to, but it's all about internal. It's our internal, coming up from within outward. Again, we have this cup. There's that cup. Look at that. That same cup is right there, front and center. It's the heart of the matter. It's why we're here, heart of matter, and it's coming up again. What do we have here? So in the last card, externally, we have things happening quite quickly. Stuff that's happening maybe really fast, stuff that's making us have to make a decision really fast, or do something or act in some way really fast. It's putting us on edge because it's unexpected. We have that with that steadying card coming out. Something that, it's affecting our stability in some way, or our anchoring energy, our grounded energy, where it's affecting us, like how we move in the world. There's something that's impacting and causing significant change, something externally that's causing significant change within us. And we see, as I brought that up, that movement, because look at this guy. This should be the Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups. But look, he stopped there. He's even off the horse. So we went from somebody who is fast, running really fast, into the scene, to someone who has now stopped. And so something has made you take pause, when it comes to how do I want to move forward. Because as I said, to me, the cup is who we are and what we offer to the world. But we're taking pause before we're offering that cup. So we don't know. It's like we don't know what to offer the world at this time, or where we want to go, or what we want to offer is kind of what's coming through. What did I put that deck? Oh, there it is. So let's give me some clarification on this Knight of Cups. This Knight of Cups, this is internal. This is our internal, guidance system of what's coming up, or what's driving us, or what's instigating. This is love. So it could be for a lot of you at this time that clicked on this reading that it might have had something to do with somebody who has left your life in some way. Okay, because we did have the heartbreak and we have the remembrance. So maybe you're navigating a heartbreak, or heartache, or heartbreak at this time. Now I do know, and it's unintentional, but it's really hard to be in any kind of significant relationship, and whether that be romantic or a friendship, because it could definitely be a friendship, it could be a family member, but any kind of significant relationship in our life, even if we're close to like our coworkers and stuff, we do spend a lot of time. We spend 40 hours a week at the minimum, usually with our coworkers. They have an impact on who we are. They start influencing and changing us on small little micro levels. They do have an impact. They do change us in certain ways. So imagine being with somebody who you've been, maybe in love, that maybe you've been with for a while. They've had a huge impact on you. So there is this, when you have a separation from someone, or when someone leaves your life in some way, or you're leaving something in some way, there is this, you do go through these periods of remembering and reflecting on what has occurred. And so I feel like we're in this kind of moment here of reflecting on what has transpired and how that's going to impact us going forward, and how that's going to change our life. Like what do I do now? Maybe you've lived with this person for several years, or they've been in your life for several years, and now you're having to, maybe go out and seek, maybe thinking about seeking a new relationship, or putting yourself out there again. And what's that look like? Who am I now? I feel like this is kind of the questions that's coming up is who am I now? This change is occurring that I don't have any control over, or if maybe you do, maybe you're the one that has chosen to make this change, for whatever whatever reasons you had, but that change is bringing up this feeling of okay, I've done things this way X number of years, or this is who I've been now. Now things are changing for me, and what's that going to look like going forward? So we're trying to understand how to navigate moving forward in our lives, and when it's going to be different. There's going to be instability, and there's going to be something different, because we had the anchor card, so we've lost our anchor, where we've been anchored for a while, where we've gotten used to things, we've gotten used to things being a certain way, but now that's changing, and so it's causing this unsteadiness within us that is really, kind of like this, a little bit of hesitation on what's next. There's a pause before we go forward, and it has to do with, this card even says that things are shifting so quickly, but it's about being present and knowing that there is a reason that we're experiencing and going through what we are, even though it might be difficult. We will get to the backside of it. We will grow out of that and find our way. It's just taking it one day at a time, and not letting it overwhelm and be over daunting or overwhelming to us. And that's why we had kind of this, I said, like, we're on this awareness, because we've now been impacted internally. Our heart has been impacted, and so that's kind of affecting how we're moving forward in the world right now at this time. It's impacting, like, we might be a little bit afraid of putting ourselves out there, and like really, being ourselves at this time, because we're under the influence or impacted by these feelings that we're experiencing as a result of this change. And that's okay. This is a safe space. I'm trying to create a safe space. So always feel free to share. I will, I will read all of the comments, and I will, if I feel moved to do so, I will reply on those comments. So always feel free to share anything that comes up that you might want to share with me or with others. But I feel like there's just this is all about that kind of pause of, like, when we've experienced something very traumatic or very impactful, of trying to get our feet back under us again, is what I feel like. We're in this moment of trying to get our feet back under us to figure out, okay, what do we do next, or where are we going from here? Okay. And there, it seems like that, like when we think about what's next, it's overwhelming. There's this overwhelming fear, like, sense that's coming up. Not that it's not that you're afraid of experiencing, but it's that overwhelmingness that's coming up really strongly that I'm feeling, like being overwhelmed, like, where your body might be a little bit on edge, because it's a daunting thing, whatever you're having to undertake at this time. It could be even stepping into a new job can be very daunting, because now you're trying to understand the expectations of that job, the expectations of a manager, the expectations of your coworker, trying to navigate that environment and what that means, how you're going to show up in that job, that new job. That can be very trying and very stressful, or it could be, like I said, it could be around a partnership where you've been with someone for a very long time, and now you and that person have parted ways in some way, whether it was in your control or not. But that means, that has impacted your life in a huge way, because maybe you're used to having that person in your life day to day, and now they're not. And that, now what's that look like? It can have a huge impact when someone is, like, in your life and present every day, and then they're not, and you've gotten conditioned or gotten so used to them being there, and then they're not there. And it's like sometimes you almost feel like there's this hole that was left behind that needs to be filled, that they were fulfilling within you, that you weren't aware of. And that is possibly for some of you, and maybe that might be the case. That might be, if that was resonating with you when I said that, if that brought up something within you, then that's where this message is for you. And it's something that brought up that to your awareness, so that you can look at that and evaluate it for yourself, to really sit with what that was, and what that void might be, or what that hole might be that person left behind, because that means there's something within you, possibly, that still there's a part of you that feels like it needs something externally to fulfill you in your life. And you shouldn't need anything external to fulfill you. You should be perfectly happy on your own, with or without somebody. So we have, again, the Three of Swords, heartache, coming out. So, okay, this is the fourth position. The fourth position is boundaries. We had two cards drop out. We have the Three of Swords and the Five of Swords. Okay, so the Five of Swords is all about kind of internal. It's swords are mind energy, and for me, Five of Swords is self-sabotage. It's the things we tell ourselves that make us make mountains out of molehills at times. It's the stories we tell ourselves that may or may not be true. We exaggerate things in our mind, and it gets the best of us. I like that this house is on fire, because it's kind of like tearing things down from within, where we're convincing ourselves potentially of things that aren't true. We're waging this battle internally. And then we have the Three of Swords, which is all about heartache. Again, it's but interesting enough. So even though we have this card of heartache, it looks like I don't know if you can tell, but it almost looks like the clouds have parted around it. Okay, so there's been this storm, but look, it's like this is coming through in like where the clouds have parted, and so it's almost like the worst has happened, and now we're on the backside of whatever this experience was. Like, so whatever it was, but what's happening is we have the Five of Swords. And so right now, even though whatever event has happened, I feel like it's already occurred. And so we're in the aftermath, like we're in the aftermath of the event. And so now it's just the mental battle of how do we deal with that situation? How do we come out the backside of it? And how do we let this impact us or not impact us moving forward? You know, what are we taking away from this experience and going forward with in our lives? You know, that's really the crux of this reading today is when we have a big event happen like this in our lives, and it impacts us on a huge scale, and it upturns our life, or, you know, turns our life upside down in some way, because it was a huge part of our lives. How do we, what do we take from that situation? What do we learn from it? And how do we let it impact our decisions or how we navigate the world going forward? Because we can choose to sit in a place of hurt, you know, like hurt or upset or be stuck in this perpetual loop of where this is, continues to impact us going forward, and how it can, this is something that potentially can continue to impact us going forward. That Ace of Cups, like I said, it's what we, who we are and what we bring to the world. So it could impact our cup of how we show up in the world because of this event. So this is really saying, you know, at what point or at what level are you going to let this impact you and who you are? You know, are you going to let this, you know, when we're uncovering or trying to understand our true authentic self? Sorry, I'm sitting on my foot and it's falling asleep. So we need to really be careful about, like, because my channel, or the goal hopefully of this channel, is to help you be more aligned with who you truly are. So when we're talking about something that has really significantly impacted us on a deep level, because it's been something very significant, a significant part of our life, that has the ability to really impact us in a huge way in how we move forward out of that. Because we can carry that pain. If we don't heal that pain, we can carry that forward into other situations, and it could impact the way we live life for the rest of our life if we let it. Or we can look at it and evaluate it and say, you know, really dissect the situation and say, okay, you know, this is what I learned from the situation, but it doesn't necessarily need to impact me. It did in certain ways, but then you can look at it from an objective point of view, instead of having it, you know, like be first person, like this has happened to me, and it, you know, this is who I am, where you've internalized whatever that situation and made it a part of you. You can either do that, you have that option to internalize it and make it a part of you, or from that first person perspective, or you can look at it objectively from a third person perspective outside of you and say, okay, yes, I experienced this for the last X number of years or months or whatever. Yes, it had a huge impact on my life. Yes, you know, like look at it objectively from a distance and say, you know, like this is what I learned from it. Then do I need to, you know, like how do I need to take this forward? I have the choice, and instead of, you know, like objectively from a non-partial place, look at it objectively and say, you know, I can let this affect me if I want to, but do I want to? You know, so I feel like that's what kind of needs to happen at this time. For most of you coming to this reading, is there's this need to kind of, I really like look at something objectively and not internalize it, like really just kind of look at it from, yes, this happened to me, what can I learn from it, and so that I don't do it again, but not necessarily let that pain, carry that pain forward, where it's impacting other areas of your life, is what I feel like is coming through strongly here. So yeah, rooted. So it's, yeah. So okay, so what came out is grounding. And so it talks about, it's like there's this need to shift your energy to where it says where it is needed, shifting your energy to where it is needed to help you complete what you've set out to do. And we kind of had that with the, like there's this bigger plan that's happening. There's this like there's like this overwhelm of the plan. But then there's like, we have to do it. And it said like the true statement is just to take it one step at a time. And it was all about being unsteady. Well, this is a grounding. So there's this need for grounding, to ground ourselves again, because we're things are a little bit unstable for us because of what happened. It shook up our life in some way, and that, that unstable ground we're on, it's like take it one day at a time. There's this need of being, to find your grounding again, find your footing again, which I feel like we're doing here with the Knight of Cups. I said this person is paused, reflecting, taking a moment to look at this. And that's what I feel like is the important message, is whatever this was, take that moment to ground yourself, look at it from that objective point of view, instead of internalizing and instead of letting it affect you, look at it from the perspective of, like what can I learn from this? I'm trying to think of how to explain it in a way that most people are going to understand what is coming through my mind. I'm not always the best at putting things into words. Luckily, when I do these readings, a lot of it's channeled, so I don't have to think. I'm not like, it's just coming. Like I'm not trying to think about the words that I'm saying. So I really feel like there is this need to evaluate something but not internalize it. It's about when we internalize things, when we take it personally, or when sometimes that comes from a place of feeling wounded in some way, like something has happened to us that we didn't have a choice in. Okay. And so I feel like what's coming through is there might be a tendency, you might have a tendency, and that now I'm trying to be careful on how I say this, because I know things are like, it can be very sensitive to talk about these things, but it's not, again, please, this isn't good or bad, there's nothing wrong with it. A lot of these things we all do. So let me start with that. A lot of things, these kind of behaviors, we all do them in some way because it's our reaction. It's how we react to things. And that kind of came up at the beginning, this, how we react to something. So this is about like how we react to something. So we have this choice. We can either say, we can look at it from the perspective of, this is happening to me, I have no choice. Or you can be empowered and you can look at it from the perspective, like, yes, this is happening, but it's not happening to me directly. Like I have a choice or a say in the matter of how this plays out. Like, so you can either like say, I don't have any choice, or I don't have any control, or I don't have any, this is just happening to me, and I can't, I just, I don't have that choice. Or you can sit there and say, okay, look at it from the perspective of, I can choose how I go forward now. I can choose what I want to do next. I can choose how I learn from this experience that yes, I experienced it, and I experienced it for a reason, but it doesn't have to impact who I am going forward. It doesn't have to impact, going back to this Ace of Cups, it doesn't have to impact how I navigate things in the future. It's a choice that we make. So you do have this choice of saying, am I going to let this impact my future, or am I not? Or am I going to learn the lesson, or am I going to sit with this and understand what's going on so I don't repeat the same thing, but also it doesn't influence who I am as a person or how I handle situations in the future, where other things that happen similarly can cause a reaction within me. This, going back to the Knight of Wands, this can cause this fight or flight, reaction within me when something similar happens, because I haven't dealt with that, because it usually whenever our body is stressed or triggered or anxious in some way, it's because we feel like we don't have control over the situation. It's because we feel like something is happening to us that we don't know how to navigate, or we haven't navigated it well in the past. So it puts us on edge because it's something that we don't know how to handle. It's unfamiliar in some way. So it's about processing that, processing it so that we can handle it in a better way going forward. I hope that helps. I think that really, I feel like I really got to explain that in a better way, and I hope I did for you. If I did, I hope you'll let me know down in the comments. I really would like to hear from you. So let's go ahead and move forward. The next position that we have is position number 5. Oh, you know what? I didn't even, I got off on a tangent and didn't even say, I don't even know if I said what position 4 is. Position 4 is our boundary position. It's up on the screen, so you probably saw that. But it's our grounding position. And it's what we kind of need to say no to, and I think we covered that. I'm not gonna go into a long spiel, because I think I basically talked about the boundary that needs to be set there is this need to not internalize it and take something personally, but to learn from the experience, take it from from the first person to the third person, and look at something objectively and evaluate it, which is what this channel is all about. Looking at taking the time to really evaluate something, to understand how we want it to impact us going forward. So in the fifth position is our wave position. It's about what emotions need to be felt at this time. And we have the star. I think that's the star. Yeah, the star card coming out. So the star is it can be a card of healing. It can be a card of alchemizing something. It can be a card of destiny, I feel like I kind of like this, because she's sitting there playing with this light, with this essence, which I feel like is like the soul energy, this light energy it's the cosmic, the star energy, and she's playing with that. It's like she's almost like guiding it and controlling it in some way, and I feel like she's trying to, navigate or manifest something specifically for herself. But, in this situation, she's looking like she's doing it from a very empowered position. Like she knows, what she needs to do to move forward. She knows what she wants for herself, and she's going to make it happen. I love this, because that's what I love. So that's when we're talking about what emotion needs to be felt in this situation. I love the star coming out in this position, because the star, like I said, it looks like she knows she has control over where she's going or what she's doing. She's manifesting a certain outcome from a situation. It's from an empowered place, and so that's what's being felt at this time, or what needs to be felt at this time, is that you've got this, okay? You can get through this. You can whatever this was, as I said, I think the real heart of the matter has already been exposed in this reading, of this need to, look at something objectively, whatever experience that has caused you to be a little ungrounded and a little unanchored because of change that is occurring, maybe unexpected change for some of you. Some of it could have been chosen change, but it's still this change of things changing in your life in a way, but understanding you can make that choice whether something, impacts you forever, or whether you just, like pick and choose, like this lady is kind of doing, pick and choose what you want to take out of the situation and whether you want that to affect you moving forward. I feel like that doesn't really need to have clarification, so we're going to go ahead and move on into our final position. This is our permission position. So this is basically what we should be saying yes to at this time. I call it, this spread is called the Sacred Yes Spread, and it's all about empowering us to make, to move in the world, being aware of how we handle or navigate things, so that we can choose, like if something needs to shift or change, we can make that shift for us. But it's all about bringing awareness to our behaviors so that we can put them under review and we can evaluate them. So we have the Queen of Cups coming out here in our permission position. So this is feeling, this is someone who feels on a very deep level, who has a lot to give, who has a lot to offer the world, from a heart space. And so, the next step is like the King of Cups, who has learned a lot in it. The Queen of Cups sometimes isn't as discerning about who she gives her love to as the King is, okay? The King can be a little more discretionary on how and who he gives his cup to, his cup to, because he's learned a lot of lessons. And so we have this Queen energy that is like the step before that, where we're pouring our heart out or pouring ourselves into something, and maybe we're seeing that, it's broken our heart in some way because we've poured our time, effort, and energy into something. And so now it's breaking our heart. We had that because we had love, we had heartache. We had heartache come out in 2 different cards and 2 different decks. So there's something that has broken our heart. Now, it doesn't have to be a lover. It can be a romantic relationship, but it doesn't have to be. There's lots of things that can break our heart. I mean, just think of the impact it can have, like even if we have a pet that we've had most of our life and a pet passes away, that can be very challenging because we are used to, like especially like if it's a dog or something like that, you've walked that dog every day, you spend time with it every day. It's hard. It's a change, we have to deal with, it can be a huge impact. We change a job or change a place to live. There's a huge, like we maybe have given into a place, like maybe we've, worked for a company for 10 or 20 years. We've put our time, effort, and energy into it. And maybe, maybe we've lost our job, or maybe we have, they've done something that's caused us to feel like we have to move away or do something differently than what we've done in the past. So with, like I said, with the Queen of Cups coming out is the permission position. And what we should be saying yes to is, I feel like there's this need, especially since we started out with the Ace of Cups, is like we go ace to king. And so we started out at the beginning, and then we had a lot of cards of cups on the table. And then we end up at the Queen almost at the end of the cup series here as we navigated through this reading. So there are a lot of emotions that need to be felt and need to be expressed at this time, is what we need to say yes to. There's this need to really sit with these feelings, feel the feelings, sit with them, kind of like navigate through them, so that we can understand, how this is having an impact on us, so that we can, as I said, kind of review what impact this situation had on your life, so that you can, from an objective point of view, feel the feelings, process the feelings, so that potentially they don't affect you in some kind of way and impact future things that you may be doing in your life. Where, how have you ever met somebody who has been in a bad relationship, like you've been, you've met someone who, maybe even for the first time, and you can tell they've been through a bad relationship because you can tell it affected them, and it's still affecting them on a negative level, where they're still carrying that pain, they're still carrying it with them, as they're moving, and when they're, because maybe you just met them, and you can tell they still are carrying some kind of pain from some baggage or pain from a past experience they've had, because you can just see it, you see it and how they're talking, how they're moving, how they're navigating things, or even from talking about it. But that's what I'm saying, how something significant can impact you going forward in every every situation and every relationship that you have going forward, because you're carrying that weight, you're carrying that burden, you're carrying that pain forward. And so what this reading is all about is there's something going on that's impacted your life significant enough that there's this need to look at those feelings, examine what happened, so that you don't carry that pain forward, so you're not that person going forward that is somebody that when somebody meets you, they see that pain, they see that has impacted you on a deep level, and you've made it become part of who you are. It's because that is now, that's not being true to your authentic self. You weren't born with that pain. That's something you experienced, and you have the potential to internalize and make it a part of who you are. But that is a choice. We have a choice about who we want to be in the world. And this is about trying to be more aligned with who you were at a core level before life happened to you. So that's what we're trying to get you, with these readings. I'm trying to help folks remember who they were, remember who they are, remember before everything, before life, got a hold of you, how would you have reacted to it then? The same situation, how would you have reacted, knowing everything you know now, if you were a child, but knowing everything you know now, how would you handle a situation, or how would you, would you allow that to change who you are, or would you stand up against it and say, and be defiant and say, I'm not going to let this affect who I am going forward, or let it impact any future possibilities or opportunities that I have going forward. So I feel like that's the message that wanted to come out. If you joined me, thank you for joining me. I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe button down below, and share this channel, these videos with others that you feel like might need to hear the messages in them. I appreciate you greatly. I also want to mention, if this reading did resonate with you in some way, and you do like the content, as far as, trying to understand why you do the things that you do, I do have a book. I don't have it here to show you, but it's linked down in the description below, there's a book I wrote called We Are Not What We've Been Taught. And it's all about going into some of the conditioning that we may have adopted or chosen for ourselves as we've navigated life, and understanding that we do not have to keep continuing those behaviors. We do have the opportunity to evaluate them and set them down, and that book kind of goes into that process of helping you uncover what these behaviors are, examine them, and choose whether they are serving your higher good or not, so that you can navigate whether you want to keep them or not going forward. So that's where I'm going to leave you. I thank you so much again. I hope you have the best day wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much. See you on the next one.